I'm gonna call to order this regular meeting of the Page County School Board.
Mr. Goodler.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Dr. Payton.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes.
And Ms. Albert.
Please pause for a minute of silence as we prepare for the meeting tonight. Please keep Mr. Painter's family in your thoughts. For the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Fox, do you have any agenda changes or additions?
I do. I have one addition this evening under section 9. So 9.06, we're going to add approval of the secondary program of studies.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Alger and a second by Ms. Sullivan Smoot to approve the agenda as amended.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Dr. Payton.
Yes.
Mr. Goodler.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes. I have a motion to certify personnel matters discussed in closed session.
I make a motion to certify personnel matters discussed in closed session, section 2.2-3711A1.
Second. We have a motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Ms. Sullivan Smoot to certify personnel matters discussed in closed session.
Dr. Payton.
Yes.
Mr. Goodler.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Yes. Can I have a motion to open the pre-budget hearing?
I make a motion that we open the pre-budget hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Sullivan Smoot and a second by Ms. Alger to open the pre-budget hearing.
Dr. Payton.
Yes.
Mr. Goodler.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes.
Close the pre-budget hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Mr. Gubler to close the pre-budget hearing.
Dr. Payton.
Yes.
Mr. Goodler.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes. We have any citizen comments? Okay. The December minutes are on board docs for review.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for December.
They're just
Oh, we're
for
not.
review.
They're just for review. Never mind. Sorry.
Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Alger and a second by Dr. Painter to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Goodler.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Dr. Payton.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes. Do we need to do one for both?
No,
They're listed
you're
over
good.
last
Yeah.
year. Mr. Johnson, or Dr. Johnson, Human Resources and Business Operations update.
Good evening, members of the board. I've asked Ms. Jeffries to join us for this presentation. We did put a slideshow together. I realize you have your back to the screen, but it's also on board docs if you would like to follow along. Thank you, Dr. Painter. We have a few graphics and we have some data that that we wanted to share with you.
Mr. Samples, can you help us?
It won't allow me to project it. It won't allow me to project it. I open it.
Mic on.
Think so.
Thank you.
Are we good? Okay. So for those that are listening at home, we're just talking about the nutritional services staff, and I'll keep moving forward with that. So Kate has the degree in culinary arts and food service management, and then a rich experience in full-time restaurant management. So she has been invaluable to Jenny, I know, in regards to planning of meals, administration of meals, and administration of kitchens. So that's a little bit about our leadership, and Jenny's going to join in on this presentation. If we can go to the next slide. Just a little bit about our human resources side of the nutritional department. We have, no, you're good where we were at. Yep. We have 33 nutritional employees. That includes one cafeteria manager at each school. And then depending on the size of the school, anywhere between 2 and 4 workers. The only one that's not true is Springfield, which has 1 additional staff member at Springfield, and that is because of population of the number of students and number of meals served. They have a fairly lengthy day. Their start time is 6:30. That allows them to get in to the cafeterias in time to get breakfast underway. Typically, we think about the nutritional services serving breakfast and lunch, but now, and I'll let Jenny speak to this a little bit, now the end time is typically 4 o'clock, and that has everything to do with the after-school programs. So you want to talk a little bit about the advent of those programs, how that came into being?
So the General Assembly about 3 years ago made a determination that any school system that had an after-school enrichment program that had a free and reduced price meal population of the school of 50% or higher was required to offer an after-school snack or supper when offering enrichment programs. That originally was set to take effect in July of 2021, but they did delay that implementation to July of 2022. So this is the first year we've been required to do that. We had done some meals prior to that, but we've definitely bumped up our production with that General Assembly requirement. And so that end time of 4 p.m., as he said, when we're doing after school programs, and that does vary school to school, day to day, depending on if that enrichment program, which is a requirement, we have to offer an enrichment program in order to offer meal service. But if we have an enrichment program, we are required to offer meal service. So
You can imagine a little bit with the scheduling on that, because we have to match school, after school programs. And if a school says we want to do this, we need to do this, then Ms. Jeffrey's team is required to find employees to provide snacks or dinner. So that's been it's a great program, but it provides a few challenges logistically. We looked up, just for curiosity, the largest school that we have this year. We're serving about 288 students every day in a single school. And again, we didn't labor you down with data from every school on that. But most of those students, many of those students are getting breakfast and lunch. So a lot of food service going on. We thought it would be neat to give you a snapshot. So we just chose October. It was a clean month with 20 school days. And so the month of October, these are actual numbers. We served 30,346 lunches, 17,515 breakfasts, and then we just talked about the after school, 1,694 after school snacks and 1,468 after school dinner. Ms. Jeffries, you got to tell them about the picture.
Okay, so that picture is a tray from our Farm to School Week. That included local pork that was grown in Shenandoah County, rice that was grown just north of DC in Maryland. And so we focused on it. But what's important is the other thing that I want to call your attention to is that every item that is on that tray is truly what a student in Page County Public Schools has the opportunity to select. So every day, every student has a choice of one entree, 3 fruits and 3 vegetables, and a milk. And they can take all 6 fruits and vegetables if they so choose. And that is more unique to Page County than other divisions. A lot of times they limit the numbers of fruits and vegetables. But again, we're just trying to bring more options to make students want to participate in our programs.
Just to break down the data a little further, and I won't read those numbers to you, but what we did, we thought it would be interesting to divide those monthly meals by 20 days. So then you can see each day how many lunches, how many breakfasts are coming out of Page County Public Schools Nutritional Services Program. And if you consider we have 33 employees, basically just mathematically, every employee is responsible for 77 meals a day. There's a lot of work going on in our kitchens, and our staff are wonderful, and we want to be able to shout out to them any chance we get. We talked about after-school programs, and again, Ms. Jeffries, if you would like to just briefly, we thought it would be neat for the public, but particularly to understand what kind of after-school programs are we doing that allows meals to come with them.
So if you're not familiar, we do have 2 21st Century Community Learning Centers that are operated by Page Alliance for Community Action, but they're operated in our schools. So Page County Middle School, Monday through Thursday, has an after-school program. Luray Elementary has a program Monday through Friday. And so we provide dinners at both of those schools immediately following school. Sometimes we call it a super snack, which is just some of the kids don't want to think that they're eating dinner at school too. So we will do those super snacks. Additionally, LHS has had quite a few after-school events that they've made us aware of that require us to offer. So they've got their music events, their band practices, some of their other extracurricular activities, tutoring, forensics, our SOL camps when they get started up for preparing our students at all levels for SOLs. Luray Middle School has their Top Club, which is in conjunction with James Madison University. And then the elementary run clubs, we also participate with those snacks, as well as, again, any enrichment activity that occurs after school. If it's occurring, our administration lets my department know, and we arrange to offer those snacks and suppers. They're not required to take them, but they're offered, and they're offered for any child 18 and under who wants them. They don't have to participate in that enrichment activity to receive.
One last thing that I would say, and so don't leave just yet, Ms. Jeffries, but I led off with Ms. Jeffries and Ms. Gordon, excuse me, not Ms. Gordon, I'm thinking Packer now, with Kate and Jenny. They are very unique in that their department, a lot of what goes on, because they're a separate budget item, they handle a lot of the workload in-house. So just talk for a moment, if you just give a couple of examples of your duties and Kate's duties, and then we'll finish with that presentation.
So we handle all invoicing, whether that is accounts receivable or accounts payable for our Nutritional Services Department. We handle all timesheets, time and effort records for the department. All procurement for our department goes through the two of us. All the menu planning, all of the coordination of the menu, recipe creation. Things that often other departments aren't doing in-house because of our separate budget, we do have to do in-house ourselves. And so,
Thank you. So that's not to say that Jenny and her team don't work very closely with Mr. Bell on procurement and Patty and the finance team on that. But at the end of the day, that paper trail and that paperwork flows through these two ladies. So I thought this would be a neat presentation because we don't talk about the ins and outs of this division, of this department very often. I thought you might enjoy hearing some of that. Are there questions on that before I just give you a quick update on the CIP plan?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment in addition. So along with feeding all the kids, breakfast and lunch and these after school programs every day, there's also community work that the staff does, specifically at LHS. So we do the porch visit program through PACA, and they make the lunches that go to those families as well. And I'm not even sure how many families are in the program, but I have over 25 families alone with multiple kids in each home. So they're also doing that, which is great. And they're always, I go in there and they're ready, and it helps me a lot. So, yeah.
And to add on to that, there's about 75 families right now. So they also pick up the food often. Kate and Jenny will go to page 1 and get food that's donated for the families and pick that up in the box truck and take it back to LHS. So they're doing a lot.
We didn't mention Mr. Keeler.
Yeah.
DJ works for us out of the central office, and DJ does a lot, whether it's delivering food, picking up food, moving food between freezers. He is invaluable. Yeah.
Thank you.
The Farmer School Week was awesome, by the way. It was great.
Just quickly, I wanted to give you an update. As you know, you all have seen the capital improvement list. The Board of Supervisors have seen the capital improvement list. We are on the move. Mr. Williams has been super busy, and I thought it would be neat for you and the public to understand some of the movement, where we're at with bids, quotes, and looking ahead. So the restroom renovations, inspections have occurred across the division. We've tried to identify where do you start, because it's such a long, large project. And we settled on Page Middle and Luray Middle gymnasium, those community bathrooms. We have hundreds of people that come and watch sporting events at both middle schools. And we thought that's good during the day for our student use, and it's great during the evening for our visitors from the community. And so we have a company who's on an existing rider that we're in the process having inspections and pricing done with that project. Similarly with the roof projects, we are receiving pricing. And again, it's nice when companies have done work and they have riders in place. That allows us to get moving. And so similar situation there with the company that's very familiar with our existing roofs. And Luray Middle, Springfield, and Grove Hill are certainly at the top of the list just because of need and age on those projects. We are in the process of receiving quotes For Bulldog Field, those lights, we're looking at LED fixture upgrades and pole repair and paint. And so there's a local vendor that's been visiting and pricing and assisting on that piece right now. Mr. Bell and I have been doing some research on school security entry. We would really like to get electronic entry at all schools with audio videos so the visitors can be outside and the school staff can hear and see before they let them in. And we would really like staff to be able to take their ID and swipe in. So we're researching that as well right now. We did get the school security grant, and we are preparing to meet with Mr. Keeler, who's our contact person for all of the existing cameras in the division and replacement and upgrades on cameras. We've been working with Mrs. Baker and her team, as well as with a vendor on handicap accessibility for our elementary playgrounds. We have those beautiful elementary playgrounds, but there's a little bit of tweaking that we need to do just for accessibility purposes. So we've been visiting the elementaries and in conversation with playground company regarding that. Mr. Williams has been working with the DEQ on some upgrades that need to be done at our retention ponds at both Luray High and Page County High. So that also is on the CIP plan and of utmost importance. And then two biggies that we just don't want to lose track of. We have not begun work on these, but we need to update most of our school fire panels across the division in our buildings. And there's some state-required updates and engineering and construction that will be needed with our water treatment plant. And so we just wanted to give you a little bit of an update that those are not just on a piece of paper. Those are very live, active research and progress, I hope, on those projects.
And I just want to add one other thing. Last week at the Tech Center Foundation meeting, the Tech Center generously received a $25,000 donation from Bluebell Wrangler towards completing the wrestling room. I always call it the wrestling room, the welding room, to turn that into a classroom. And that's something we've wanted to do. So $25,000 is a great start to that project. Dr. Johnson and Mr. Williams are getting a quote on what it will take to finish that room. And we have the support of the foundation to potentially help us raise the remainder of the money to finish that room, to plumb it out, to put a bathroom there, because currently the students have to come up to the main building. So we just want to take the opportunity to publicly thank Bluebell Wrangler for their generous donation. And we're looking forward to having some updates made to that room to complete out that welding program.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Johnson. Ms. Ryman, instructional update?
Board members. Mine's relatively brief this evening. Excuse me. Frog from the throat. Back in December, we had briefly mentioned to you that we had applied for a pre-K2 active learning grant through the Department of Education. And I'm pleased to inform you tonight that we found out recently we are a recipient of that grant. For a total of $30,000. The time period to implement and use this is relatively short, through June 30th of this year. But our goal is to use that money to provide professional development and training for staff and work on building some curriculum and lessons that incorporate active movement. So the first step in that process is the DOE actually has folks trained, and their title is Certified Movement Officers, so a CMO. So I'm waiting to hear from a local CMO who can get the ball rolling and assist us with that. So we're very excited about that. And the second is an update and a revisit of something. You may recall in the past, PCPS was enrolled with the Stop It app. And the purpose of that app is to be able to offer, and meet multiples of our needs. We're always trying to look for ways to increase communication with students and families, but then also to continue to work towards the safe and healthy environment that we have and build upon that. So the Stop It app, unlike its previous implementation, will actually be able to be pushed out on student devices so they can access it from there. And it's also a downloadable app that could go on your phone, or parents could even have on their phone. And students and families can use this to report things that they might be a little uncomfortable reporting directly, perhaps to a teacher or administrator, whether it, be something related to bullying or just an incident that they've heard about that they want to make sure someone's aware of. Again, that having that little bit of anonymity may help and make them feel a little more comfortable. So we're looking forward to that and have plans to roll that out on or around February 6th. So more communication will be coming to families about that particular product. Do you have any questions for me?
For the Stop It app, do you have any ways of like filtering out the spam that could come through?
That's a very good question, Jackson. So when an incident is reported, it'll alert the administrators of that school and everything. So they'll probably just have to sort through them and determine whether or not they think it is a valid response or not. But that's something, if we start to notice that that's happening, we can look into. Good question.
That's a great question.
Any others? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Raymond. Dr. Fox, Superintendent's update.
Yes, thank you. I'll move through these slides quickly for you this evening. So just a quick COVID update. Fortunately, we are now back down into the low range. And you can see the state is starting to come back down a little bit as well. So that is good news. Currently, we do have 8 active cases across the school division. That's up from 1 the last time we presented to you 2 weeks ago. We just want to continue to ask everyone to use those mitigation strategies to help decrease the spread of not only COVID, but a bunch of the other things that we see this time of year. So we thank people in advance for continuing to do that. The last part of my presentation this evening, as we now move officially into budget season, we just wanted to remind everybody of the processes that we will be going through over the next couple months as we look to finalizing a budget. So this slide, I'm not going to read it, but these are just our statutory requirements of what we as a school division, what you as a board are required to do in order for us to have a legal budget that we get approved and then sent to the Board of Supervisors. One of those things we did tonight, which was we're required to offer at least one public hearing. So we had one tonight and we'll have one more next month. So if people weren't able to come tonight, they have an opportunity in February to do that. In terms of roles, this slide just outlines the different roles. So our stakeholders, which are our employees, our parents, students, our educational associations, our community partners and community members, they can certainly submit input into the budget. My job is to make sure that I get that input from all of those stakeholders and then develop a proposed budget that's based on what you all also share as your priorities. You all have to hold those public hearings and get public input. You're going to provide me with some direction on what you want to see in the budget. You're going to approve that final budget, and then our job is to submit that to our local governing body, which is our Board of Supervisors, who ultimately appropriate our local funds to us. So that's everybody's role in that process. In terms of the state budget, this is the second year of the biennium. So last year, the 2-year 22-24 budget was approved. So this is the second year of that biennium. This past December, Governor Youngkin did submit some proposed budget amendments to the legislation. Some of those are listed there for you. So there is a retention bonus again for staff that he has proposed. They're looking at expanding some of the reading specialists. Originally, the Virginia Literacy Act was just K through 3. This would expand those reading specialists up to grades 4 and 5. And so the state will provide some, not all, but some funding for those positions. Looking at math specialists at low-performing schools. There's talk of a bonus, performance pay bonus for staff. That would be determined by VDOE in conjunction with local school divisions. We do not have a lot of information on that at this point. We're waiting on more on that. It would support some teacher recruitment incentives in some hard-to-fill positions and in hard-to-fill school divisions. And it would definitely have some money in there to expand school-based mental health pilot, which would be bringing in community partners into the school. So outside of your school counselors, your school psychologists, and your school social workers, this would allow other people to come into the buildings to provide support to students. So those amendments that he's made, those are just some of the educational ones, are being considered right now by the General Assembly. They're in session. And so we're waiting to hear more information on those. The other piece to keep in mind is that a part of the biennial budget was that school divisions are required over the 2 years of the budget to get the full funding of state allotments. You had to give at least a 10% increase in salaries over the 2 years. So we have to keep that in mind. We've got to fulfill the remainder of our portion of that. So we'll be bringing that to you as we look at all of our budget numbers. In terms of the General Assembly session, they are now in session as of January 11th, and their session will end on February the 25th. And again, during this, they're reviewing all of the amendments and the different legislation and how that impacts the biennial budget. Budget Sunday, or crossover Sunday as they call it, is on February 5th, and that's where the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee and the House Appropriations Committee, they complete their actions on the budget bills and then they exchange. And so those houses then look at what's there and they try to come to some consensus as to what they'll move forward. That new passed budget or new and amended legislation then goes back to the governor, where he can either sign it, he can make amendments, or he can veto it. So all of that will happen. This is a short session for them. Last year was the long session. So they have certainly have a lot of work to do before February 25th. In terms of the Board of Supervisors, they are sort of mirroring our process as they develop their budget. We will have on February 16th, there's a public meeting. There's a joint session between the Board of Supervisors and the school board where we'll discuss preliminary budget conversations and topics there. They have a meeting on March the 20th where the county administrator will propose their budget. And then the tax rate public hearing and the adoption of the school board and the county budgets, there's a public hearing for that on April 17th. And they are slated to adopt their budget on May 1st, and we will adopt ours shortly thereafter. And then this slide just gives you, this is just a snapshot of our budget meetings. We've talked about this a couple of times. You do have on your approval agenda this evening, there is one change to the budget meetings. I'm going to move the proposed budget from February to March, and that's for a number of reasons. One, I think we need to wait to see what happens in the legislature with the General Assembly. There's so much in the air with that. There was also information shared with us yesterday that there was an error made in the state calculation tool, and they have to go back and fix that. It's they overestimated the amount of sales tax revenue that we will get, every school division will get. So they're going back to recalculate that, and that's going to impact us negatively because they're going to take money away. So for a couple of those reasons, we're going to propose waiting to do the proposed budget until March for you all. May would be bad. Just a list of some of the factors that we're going to be considering as they influence us on how we look at our budget. Obviously, there's some compensation needs. One that we have to meet for the state requirements, but others that we want to meet just locally for our staff. We're always going to be looking at recruitment, training, and retention of staff. It's critical right now, especially with the shortages that we're seeing. There are other budget priorities and requests that have come from the school level. We send out the budget templates. They get to send us their requests for different things, and that can range from anything to more staffing to new carpet in the library. So we're working through those and prioritizing those requests as well. We are dealing with continued enrollment fluctuations. Health cost renewal, that's not going down, that's going up. We are certainly dealing with the rising costs of everything from fuel to just general prices of food and things like that. Inflation is impacting us. There are some future increases to minimum wage that you all are going to have to consider. We do fortunately still have some ESSER 3 funding that we're working through, and we'll have that, but those things do expire, and some of those positions will have to be moved over to local funding. And then, as always, Dr. Johnson shared tonight that long list. You just saw part of it tonight of capital improvement work that we need to do across the division. In terms of next steps, the templates have gone out to the schools. As I shared, they've come back. We're reviewing and prioritizing that information. We're just going to continue to have ongoing meetings with you all. There's some work sessions coming up. We will develop that proposed budget and give that to you in early March. And then our work will be just refining that budget based on local funding and state funding and what things can stay and what things have to go. So we'll continue that process openly with the public as well. So that's just a quick update on the budget and where we are. We'll get you some definitive numbers coming up in the next couple of meetings. The last thing I have this evening is we just want to invite everyone this Sunday at Luray High School at 2:00 is our 26th annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. So we'll have a special treat from our high school bands and choirs. Will give us some musical selections. Our student essay winners will read their essays. That's always fun. And our master of ceremony this year is Mr. Daryl Haley. So we're looking forward to that event. And we certainly encourage everybody to join us on Sunday at 2:00 if you're available. So that's all I have this evening. Is that quick enough, Dr. Payne?
I was teasing her about how many slides she had. I do have two thoughts, questions. Okay, on the state budget slide, when it talked about Governor Youngkin's proposed budget amendments, I found it interesting that they listed the extending reading specialists in the Virginia Literacy Act of grades 4 and 5. Because I'm on that Virginia Literacy Act advisor group, I'm actually a co-chair. We've never even talked about that. But I'm not surprised. So
I just put out what we get in.
I know you do. And then on your last thing about the budget factors, when you mentioned recruitment, retention, teachers, do you know if you are going to apply for the recruitment retention support grant that's due February 3rd?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
We are trying hard not to let any money pass us up. There's a grant out there. We're trying hard, if we meet the qualifications for it, to put in to get it.
I know we get a lot of soups memos, so I was just making sure you saw that.
Yeah, no, we did. Dr. Johnson got another thing added to his plate. Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Fox. Ms. Sechrist, approval of claims for payment.
Good evening, board members. You all have been provided with the claims certification, where operating fund was $302,288.54. CIP fund, $127,962. Food service fund, $26,080.33 for total expenditures of $456,330.87. Along with that, you've been provided with the list of claims as well as the check registers. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
I make a motion that we approve claims for payment as presented.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Sullivan Smoot, a second by Ms. Alger to approve the claims for payment as presented.
Ms. Alger,
Yes.
Dr. Payne,
Yes.
Mr. Beaver,
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Samples, E-rate Internet RFP.
Good evening, board members. I'd like to report that we've selected a vendor to recommend for our internet service and why the selected vendor is being recommended. The selection process involves evaluating bids from potential vendors, which means reviewing and comparing the bids from each vendor to determine which one was the best fit for the project or service in question. Even though we received one bid for these services, the evaluation process is very much the same as if you received multiple bids. A number of different factors are considered in the evaluation process, including but not limited to the demonstrated ability to ensure reliability of the network, compatibility with our existing infrastructure to result in a desired solution, ensuring that all support and repairs would be inclusive under a 3-year contract term, and the price of E-rate eligible services being the primary and most heavily weighted factor. After consideration, we selected to recommend Lumen as our vendor of choice for this service. We chose Lumen because they have demonstrated over the length of our current contract to be able to provide reliable and stable service. They have been able to adequately respond to our RFP requirements, and the cost that was presented allows us to upgrade our current level of service while still saving money compared to our current contract. We would propose going with the 5 gigabit option, which more than doubles our current level of service. This option will allow us to accommodate any unforeseen growth in device utilization, as well as any increased bandwidth usage requirements for testing or day-to-day learning, all while still being less expensive than our current monthly payment. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we approve Mr. Sample's recommendation for Lumen's 5 gigabyte option.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Mr. Gubler to approve Lumen's internet, E-rate internet option.
Yes.
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 And you could stand there and like speak Japanese to me and I still wouldn't know it.
Thank you.
We were getting more for less. So that's
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
That's the big
That's what
takeaway.
I got out of it.
Thank you, Mr. Samples. Dr. Johnson and Ms. Ryman, the school calendar.
We drew straws. So this evening, yes, we would like to, after sharing the 23-24 draft calendar with you at our last meeting, seek your approval with that so we can move forward with planning for the new school year. Do you have any questions that have come up since we last talked through it?
I've only heard positive feedback. I make a motion that we approve the 23-24 school calendar.
We have a motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Ms. Alger to approve the 23-24 school calendar.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Before I step away, do I need to give you all an update on the overnight field trips?
No.
Anything specific? Okay, just wanted to check.
Hey, before we go to something else, for the future meetings, can we give them paper copies? Because I
I made a
feel
note.
okay, because I feel like they're like, oh.
No, we'll make sure they have.
Okay.
A packet. Yeah. School board meeting schedule update.
Yeah, so tonight for your approval is just one change, and that is moving the February 9th meeting, the Thursday, February 9th meeting to Wednesday, February the 8th. So that's up for your approval this evening so we can post that new date.
Make a motion that we approve the school board meeting schedule as amended.
A motion by Mr. Gubler and a second by Ms. Alger to approve the school board meeting schedule as amended.
Mr. Gubler.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Dr. Taylor.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Yes. FY24 budget calendar update.
As I referenced earlier, just a couple of minor changes to your budget calendar that you had previously approved. February 16th, we now have that date, so we've added that in. That's the school board and the Board of Supervisors joint meeting. That will be at Page County Middle School. February 25th is the updated date for the General Assembly when they conclude. And then March 9th is, we moved that superintendent's proposed budget from the February 9th meeting to the March 9th meeting. So we're just asking for your approval of that amended budget calendar tonight.
I make a motion that we approve the FY24 budget calendar with the amendment.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Alger and a second by Ms. Sullivan Smoot to approve the amended FY24 budget calendar.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Dr. Taylor.
Yes.
Mr. Gubler.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
Yes.
Real quick comment on that. Is on that schedule, does it show February 9? Shouldn't it be February 8?
Yeah.
Minor correction, right?
Yes, we'll make that before we post it in accordance with your approval of it. Thank you.
Approval of the secondary program of studies. Ms. Ryman?
Great. So again, as presented last month, our draft for the secondary program of studies for high school for 23-24. We would like to ask for your approval this evening so that we can get started on the exciting process of scheduling for next year.
I make a motion that we approve the secondary program studies.
Second?
We have a motion by Ms. Alder and a second by Mr. Gubler to approve the 23-24 secondary program of studies.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you. Board member discussion time?
I would just say I'd like to find a way to make them a little more involved.
Yeah.
Because I know you have to be bored out of your mind. I'm like, what are they talking about? What's a check register? I mean, not that you don't know, you know what I mean. You like to see it. And it's all public, so.
Yeah.
Well, maybe what we could do is add under our update section, maybe we just add a little section where they can give us a student update. Nothing,
Yeah, like I
doesn't have
was
to be
wondering, I'm
anything
like,
formal.
what do you all think about what they, like when Dr. Johnson talked about renovating those 2 bathrooms first? I mean, what do you all think? You're in the school.
Well, the bathroom at the middle school, desperate need for. I mean, I think it at the middle school. Now, I'm not really that short, but most of the time, the one there will like, I can see over the stalls when I'm using. That's going to be more of a problem for my brother when he comes up.
Or what, I guess it's supposed to be our discussion time. It's question and answer. Like, what did you all think was supposed to be your role in this? Like, what do you hope to get out of it besides saying I went up there and sat?
I think our role is to get more students involved. Because a lot of times when surveys go out, students may read the message, but then just not paying attention to it. We just want to make sure students are involved in this process and know what's going on.
Okay. I hope that you all feel that, you know, if it's something that we need to get more input from, that you'll be like, hey, can you ask us? Just ask anything.
I had suggested at our last meeting that they be thinking about a time frame when to get the information out to students for next year's. And earlier, and definitely before the end of the school year. So they were going to be looking at some dates and things to get back to us so we can get that out.
And they're going to be helping me in the next month. We're doing some student focus groups at 6 through 12. They're going to help me come up with the questions to pose to the kids. So we'll get together and formulate those.
I think then they should present it to us, your findings.
Be happy to let them present it to you, Dr. Painter.
I think it would be good to put a student update section in the informational so you guys can give us some feedback. Any other discussion?
Just happy to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Fox, for doing such a good job keeping us in the loop with weather updates, personnel-related things, everything, all the day-to-day stuff, all the incidents that occur. A lot of things behind the scenes you guys don't hear about, but she does a great job of just keeping us in the loop.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Again, I have a great team backing me up, so I don't do it alone.
And we've been working through the strategic planning process. So I think over 600 people took that survey.
688.
And a lot of people put comments. Please, anybody out there who took the survey, know that we're looking at the comments. The administration's looking at the comments. Everybody's voices are being heard. I thought it was a really good meeting on Monday. A lot of good discussion. So thank you for taking the time to get the feedback and involve everybody in the community.
No, we're grateful to have the feedback. It's really helping us define some things. So I agree with you, and thanks for saying that. I think it is important for people to know that every single one of those comments has been read and shared.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. We have a motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Ms. Alger to adjourn.
Yes.
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 Yes. Adjourn.